Russian President Putin is rejecting Western plans to send troops to Ukraine in the event of what still seems like an elusive ceasefire. France says 26 allies have pledged support, but Putin has a stern warning. He says any foreign forces would be legitimate targets, especially if they appeared now. There are no plans for an immediate deployment.
This is a crime that, by our Justice Department's own admission, has 1,000 victims. 1,000 victims. Do you know 1,000 people? Think of the enormity of that. Could you be okay with a crime happening in your community to 1,000 girls and young women?
In an emotional news conference, Epstein survivors have backed a push to force a House vote demanding the Justice Department release its records in full on the case of the convicted pedophile. One suggested that survivors would release their own unofficial client list if more documents are not made public. Trump has called the resurgence of the Epstein saga a democratic hoax.
How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead?
President Trump pushing back against online rumors about his health. He says reports of his death over the previous weekend were false, noting he had given several interviews and shared what he called poignant posts on social media before reappearing in public Tuesday. U.S. President Trump taking another punch at India, posting on his social media platform. He says, quote, "Looks like we've lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together," unquote. Now, those comments made as U.S. President Trump takes his tariff fight to the highest court in the United States. Trump's appeal to the Supreme Court this week comes after a lower court ruled that an overwhelming majority of Trump's tariffs would be cancelled. Now, if the Supreme Court rules that President Trump has overstepped, it would be the first major instance of the justices reinstating and really restraining his authority, rather. Now, a ruling against the tariffs would also raise questions on whether the U.S. will need to pay back billions of dollars gathered so far. All of this, of course, has a direct impact on India, which faces some of the highest tariffs at 50%. Now, let's take a closer look at the story. We are joined for an exclusive interview by Nobel Prize-winning economist Abhijit Banerjee. Professor Banerjee, thank you so much for your time here on Washington Watch. Professor Banerjee, the Supreme Court really ruling is seen here as pivotal. Arguments could start in November with a ruling by the end of the year. How much really should we be holding our breath for this verdict, this ruling from the Supreme Court, especially for countries like India? All right, we'll try and establish that line with Professor Banerjee in just a bit. But like we've been telling you, President Donald Trump making those comments in the last few hours against India, pushing back against that meeting that we saw earlier this week between the Chinese President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi, along with Russian President Putin. Now, the U.S. President Trump saying in that quote that we played out to you earlier, saying that in fact he feels that India and Russia have been lost to a deepest, darkest China, and they, in somewhat might be a rather sarcastic tone of voice here, saying that may they have a long and prosperous future together. Those comments coming, of course, as President Trump has taken his fight really of these tariffs to the Supreme Court after a lower court ruled that many of his tariffs actually need to be cancelled. Now, what would happen really if the Supreme Court actually rules against Trump. Now, that will be quite pivotal because we've seen lower courts take a stance against Trump, but the Supreme Court in many ways has taken stances that have been in favor of Trump. So everyone really critically waiting to see what happens on that front. Now, when are we going to expect that Supreme Court ruling? Well, not anytime soon. Arguments perhaps being made in November, with a decision likely towards the end of the year. And what happens in the event that the Supreme Court decides, in fact, to actually rein back Trump on this issue? I believe that we've got Professor Banerjee now. All right, so I think we're going to try and fix that line with Abhijit Banerjee in just a bit. But before we get to him, let's take a look at a story that has really caused a lot of questions being raised about the LA police, which shot a Sikh man recently. And questions really been raised whether things could have been done differently in terms of less force being used rather than firing a bullet that had him killed.
Stand by, crossfire, bro, crossfire. Got it. Stop, right now.
A Sikh man, Gurpreet Singh, shot dead by Los Angeles Police Department officers after wielding a sword in what witnesses say appeared to be the Gatka, a Sikh martial art. The incident unfolded just after 9 a.m. at a busy intersection. Singh had stopped his car in traffic, stepped out and began swinging a 2-foot blade, described by police as a machete but identified by others as a double-edged Gatka sword. LAPD body cam video shows him in a vest, shorts and a blue turban moving in martial arts-like patterns, even cutting his own face at one point.
There is a guy on Figueroa and Figueroa and Olympic. There is a guy with a machete on it and with training people stopping the traffic. I think it's a black Muslim, but I don't have to get away. But he's screaming right now and training people to that.
Alarmed witnesses told police he was threatening passers-by. 2 officers rushed to the scene, ordering Singh to drop the weapon.
Stop!
He refused, instead throwing a water bottle, then fleeing in his car with the blade waving outside the window. A short, chaotic pursuit followed. Singh struck multiple vehicles, including a police car, before stopping near 12th Street.
My side. Stand by.
There he stepped out and charged at the officers with the sword raised. Both officers opened fire, hitting him multiple times. Singh was rushed to hospital but died of his injuries. No officers or bystanders were hurt. Gatka, rooted in Sikh warrior tradition, is commonly performed at religious and cultural events. Analysis of the footage shows Singh's movements began in a controlled martial arts manner before spiraling into erratic behavior. The LAPD has defended its action, calling Singh's charge a clear threat to public safety.
We are still at the very early stages of this investigation, which can often take up to a year to complete, and our understanding of the incident may change as this additional evidence is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. We also do not draw any conclusions about whether the officers acted consistent with our policies and the law until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete.
But online and community voices are asking, why lethal force? Why not a taser? Could Singh have been taken alive? The case comes as LAPD faces growing criticism over how it handles mental health crisis, though Singh's mental state has not been disclosed. The department's Force Investigation Division is now reviewing the shooting as required in all police-involved fatalities. Authorities are appealing for more witnesses to come forward. A Sikh man dead in downtown LA. Police say they had no choice. The community asks, was there any other way? With Rhythm Arcadia, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Let's get back to that story of US President Trump taking his fight to the US Supreme Court as far as those tariffs go. To take a closer look at this, we are joined by Nobel Prize winning economist Abhijit Banerjee for an exclusive interview. Professor Banerjee, thank you very much for your time. Professor Banerjee, the US Supreme Court ruling is seen as pivotal. Arguments could start in November with a ruling by the end of the year. How much should we really be holding our breath for this, especially for countries like India?
I'm mostly not convinced that the Supreme Court will do very much. I think the first, I'm not even sure they will overturn the executive's action. They tend to be very protective of the executive's choices. And second, I think there are many other ways in which President Trump could continue, as he has in many situations, just found other ways to get to the same thing. So I'm pessimistic that unless he wants to change the policy, that will be changed.
Got it. He has other mechanisms in his armor in case that verdict from the Supreme Court that might come against him. Now, Professor Banerjee, you've been quoted recently as saying that India needs to think hard if Russian oil imports are worth it. There are many, of course, who will disagree with you, saying that India should not back down. This is a sovereign country buying oil that is not sanctioned. What do you have to say to them?
I guess we're a sovereign country, but we are in many ways we're also we make compromises all the time. We weren't quite as let's say leaning towards Beijing till recently. We had our own issues with, for example, the dam that's on the Arunachal border. All kinds. It's not that we don't make compromises. Mm-hmm. So I think taking the moral high ground only when it's kind of somehow convenient for us, or strikes me as being inconsistent with the way we behave. So we might as well be. It's very much a pragmatist dominated world and a bit of a nasty place, and we have only limited choices.
And talking about being nasty, we saw President Trump make another caustic statement against India a few hours ago, saying that the US has lost India to a dark China. I think many Indians have developed thick skin with these repeated remarks, really meant to poke and provoke. But Professor Banerjee, you talked also about China. Now, as far as those India-China ties go, the trade ties, how much do you think that will help ease the pain of the US tariffs?
Directly, I think directly they're going to do relatively little because we have very different trade patterns vis-a-vis the US and China, and it's not easy to pivot. I think it's more importantly, it gives us a moment to go back to thinking about the RCEP and whether we should be part of a larger grouping that includes China, where I think there might well be benefits to being part of a grouping that has Japan and Australia and many others in it. And there we wouldn't be directly exposed only to China and therefore a little bit under China's thumb. And I think that might well be a question we want to ask ourselves: do we want to reconsider joining the RCEP? What are those compromises less onerous than the others will have to make?
Professor Banerjee, how do you think India and the United States can break this stalemate?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think this idea that is very much in the media that we've somehow offended President Trump by resisting his idea that he made peace. I just don't know what we can do. If that's the truth, then I don't know that what we can do. I mean, if we really don't think that's the truth, then it's sort of we're stuck a bit on that.
Professor Banerjee, what about a phone call between Trump and Modi?
I think we should always keep lines open. I don't see a reason not to do the phone call. The question is whether or not that will make things worse or better. I mean, the question is whether the phone call will lead Trump to lean even heavier on the peace issue, and then will we put in an even more uncomfortable position? That's, I think, the reason why the Indian government has been hesitating.
Professor Banerjee, thank you so much for your time here on Washington Watch. Abhijit Banerjee, Nobel Prize-winning economist, joining us here on NDTV. Now, in other news, in an unprecedented move, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the government agency responsible for issuing various things like visas and green cards, is reportedly creating its own police force. According to a Wall Street Journal report, they will be allowed to make arrests and carry guns. Several hundred officers will be recruited. They will have the authority to both arrest applicants and also attorneys. Now, until now, if you walked into the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services offices, you wouldn't face such action because enforcement was kept separate. Observers say the move might help fight fraud, but also makes people extremely fearful of releasing information. Now, in another immigration news story, this month has seen a host of changes to visa rules. Travelers looking to apply for ESTA, a category used by countries which really enjoy a visa waiver program, will see a 90% fee hike of $40. The changes take effect from September 30th. ESTA doesn't apply for Indian passport holders, but would apply for NRIs holding, say, a British or an Australian passport. Meanwhile, starting this week, say goodbye to interview waivers. Get ready to bring your kids along with Dada and Dadi to the US visa office. Until now, many visa applications or applicants under the age of 14 or over 79 were exempt from interviews. Now, that's a change that affects those on H-1Bs and student visas as well, with the greatest scrutiny here from the consulates of the United States due to these interviews. It's a move, of course, that will impact several people. Now, turning to a story that will send a chill down your spine. An elderly Indian couple have survived a freak accident while they were eating at a restaurant in Texas. A person driving an SUV thought the vehicle was in reverse, but that wasn't the case. Instead, the SUV crashed into the window of the restaurant. An elderly Indian man was on the phone talking to his son while it all happened, so the son actually heard it all in live time. The man and his wife are now safely back home in Maryland from Texas. In an exclusive interview, here's what Raj and Kala, along with their son, told me.
Having dinner, I remember I heard the big noise. Then the next day, I was on the floor. I see the wheel going bypassing me. So immediately I thought of him. I rushed other side to see him. Other side, I went around and other people also came, and I saw his hand. Kind of really, when I see his hand, then I saw him. He was bleeding. I don't know where the blood comes from. That's why I'm not able to talk. Because every time when I talk, it's kind of pain. I thought he's gone. I lost him. That's what in my mind first came into my mind.
Clearly a miraculous escape. Raj, what happened to you? What really prevented you from getting under the vehicle?
I was pushed by the vehicle and all the furniture and the windows are covering me. So it go to the end and it come up to this level. I thought I am home. So that's the time, luckily the vehicle stopped.
He didn't see the vehicle until he came
Until
out.
I came out. Initially, I thought there was a bomb blast, something is happening. And, then on the same time, the telephone fell on the ground. And my second son, he was listening, she is screaming and everything. He was panicking. So he told him, then both of them were panicking.
Atikan, when your brother told you that he was on the phone and this is what happened, did you have any clarity on what in the world was really going on?
So he had two phones on him when he at the time, and just to amplify how loud I heard my mom scream, just not he wasn't even on speakerphone. Just hearing your parent scream like that, it's quite traumatizing. Normally, my mom, she struggles to get up, but
I don't know how I got up like that fast. Even I realize now it's only in my mind about thinking about him only, because
Yes.
he was sitting in front of me.
Indeed, Kala, but here he is with you still, so that must be extremely heartening, of course. We have to look at the bright side of it, really a miraculous escape. Raj, what do you think saved you?
Because this car came in, all the furniture and windows are on front of the bonnet. Furnitures were pushing in, all my body is squeezing up, and luckily, close to my end, the car stopped.
So you mean the table acted as some kind of buffer that helped save your lives?
When you look at it, I was boxed by so much of furniture all over the place. There was so much fun.
Raj, could this have been avoided?
Because as an engineer, I am an engineer. I am working for a heavy manufacturing industry. When I look at it, the first thing, and he is also an engineer. We talk about it. I told him this could have been avoided if they do have some barriers or the bollards, to protect.
And so, Raj, what you said was on the outside of the restaurant where the car was parked, you think there should have been some kind of metal barriers that would have prevented the car from ramming through the glass. Is that correct?
Otherwise, they should remove those parking lots. If they cannot put street parking, they should take it out. This is going to happen again if you don't do anything, because there may be people, they are going to make mistakes. I told my family, we will never go and sit on a place where we have similar parking. We will never go.
Never sit by a restaurant window where there is parking without a barricade in front of it. Totally understand that. Again, thank you so much, Raj, Kala, and Atikan for joining us here on NDTV. Time for some other news in brief. Tesla's board has proposed a pay package that could make Elon Musk the first trillionaire, but he would need to grow the company's stock 8-fold over the next decade to earn it. Trump plans to rename the Defense Department to the Department of War, a name used until just after World War II. He says defense is too politically correct and prefers the traditional title. And former U.S. President Joe Biden has undergone skin cancer surgery. The 82-year-old, who has faced multiple cancer diagnoses in recent years, was recently seen with a wound on the right side of his head. And finally, Washington has a new mystery on its hands. A viral video appears to show a black bag being tossed out of a White House window. President Trump says, "Don't believe your eyes, it's an AI fake." He insists the window actually doesn't even open and that each one weighs about 600 pounds. Experts, however, say that the video looks very real and likely linked to some construction work, but in true Trump fashion, he joked, if something really bad happens, just blame AI, so America and the world may really never know whether the bag was trash, construction rubble, or just a deep fake. Well, that's it for Washington Watch. The news continues here on NDTV. For the latest updates and breaking news, subscribe to NDTV's YouTube channel. I'm Alistair D'Souza.
When Tony passed, we wanted to celebrate him his way. all he ever spoke about was bite this, bite that. I'll never forget our first date. Huge grin on his face as he rode up on that big noisy thing. And that's exactly the way he'd want to be remembered.
At Co-op Funeral Care, we offer a choice of funerals including direct cremation. We're right by you when you need us. Search online, call us or visit your local funeral home.
Discover the finest quality made-to-measure blinds, shutters and curtains at Blinds Direct. A huge selection of beautiful window dressings to suit every room. Handmade here in the UK with a 5-year guarantee for your peace of mind. Order your free samples today and choose your perfect design. Exclusively online, delivered direct to your door. Shop now for an extra 20% off and free delivery at blindsdirect.co.uk.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000, whether it's for home improvements, new appliances, a car, or for some of life's big moments. So even if you've had problems with credit before, Evlo looks beyond your credit score and always takes a case-by-case approach. Visit evlo.co.uk to get your conditional decision in minutes. Evlo, your future in your hands.
Family life. It's made of ups and downs, and those little moments. But should the unthinkable happen to you? Life insurance from Legal & General can help look after monthly bills, the roof over their heads, childcare costs, and most importantly, your family. Premiums start from £5 a month and they never rise. Plus there's a £100 gift card after you apply. Legal & General. Ensure life goes on.
PlusNet's great value broadband's got you covered. Sit back and relax with full fibre from just $24.99 a month. It's fast and reliable with speeds up to 900 megabits. Oh, and award-winning too. So you can really, really relax. That's a plus. Call or visit plus.net to switch to us today. Offer ends 10th of September.
There's an old saying that goes, the best camera is the one you have with you. But now that we all have cameras with us all the time, maybe a better camera is the one that shows you how to take a better photo. Google Pixel 10.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma, but so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pomelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 021 3925 and giving £2 a month to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 021 3925, text C7 to 82727, or go online and give just £2 a month now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
I like to think ahead. Make sure I've got all the right tools for the job. And now that I've turned 50, it means looking after what I've built. I'll be retiring down the line, and with the mortgage nearly done, I want to make sure that my lot will be protected if anything happened to me. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years for full cover, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. and you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more couldn't be simpler and can be done in just a few minutes. Go online or talk to one of their friendly UK team who will chat you through your options in just one phone call. And their claims process is really straightforward, so your loved ones will be looked after.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Get covered in minutes with no annoying trips to the doctor. With fixed monthly payments, prices start at just £4.42 a month. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Cover Today has given me genuine peace of mind. And now that's done, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 470 4322 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
As members, we're all working it out together.
Call 0800 144 5410 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month. Join us now because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
For victory in Bihar, but was setting up factories in Gujarat. Addressing the Prime Minister, he said, Modi ji, victory Bihar se, lekin factory Gujarat ke liye. And finally, the Congress entered the fray. Its Kerala unit tweeted that Bidi, unlike cigars, cigarettes and tobacco, had not been subjected to a 40% sin tax, supposedly because Bidi was important to the Bihar election. And in trying to convey this, they said that Bihar and Bidi have B in common, and that's why Bidi did not get taxed the way others did. Well, one didn't have to wait for long before this Bidi ended up giving some serious burns to the Congress. As always, their wit wasn't really understood by too many. The NDA was quick to pounce on the opportunity to say that this comparison was yet another insult to the state of Bihar. The land of learning and education was being shown as a poor state of Bidi smokers, and some even linked it to the earlier abuse of the Prime Minister's mother by a Congress worker last week. When even RJD's Tejaswi Yadav refused to defend this tasteless tweet, the Congress saw which way the wind was blowing and did a quick backpedal. But it seems the damage is done.
ये केरल कांग्रेस की ही सोच नहीं है, ये कांग्रेस पार्टी की ही सोच है। इन्होंने हमेशा से बिहारियों को बदनाम करने में कभी कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ी। इनके राष्ट्रीय नेताओं ने जिस तरीके से उनकी भाषा रही है बिहार बिहारियों को लेकर, इनके खुद के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष बिहार को जब छोटा मोटा राज्य बोल देते हैं, जब पंजाब में जाते हैं इनके बड़े से बड़े राष्ट्रीय नेता और वहाँ के उस वक्त के मुख्यमंत्री जब बिहारियों को गाली दे रहे होते हैं और कह रहे होते हैं कि बिहारी आके हम लोग का हक मान लेते हैं, उस वक्त इनके राष्ट्रीय नेता बगल में खड़े होकर ताली बजा रहे होते हैं।
कांग्रेस पार्टी को हो क्या गया है? अब कांग्रेस पार्टी के केरल शाखा से अधिकृत सोशल मीडिया पोस्ट आया है कि बिहार और बीड़ी एक समान है। तो बिहार की तुलना बीड़ी से करेंगे आप? कितना गिरेंगे आप? प्रधानमंत्री की मां का अपमान किया, गालियां दी गई, अभी तक उन पर क्षमा नहीं मांगा है, और अब सीधा बिहार के अस्मिता का, बिहारियों का अपमान किया।
बिहार का अपमान यह तो महागठबंधन के घटक दल का